There's a story about a famous Dallas Cowboys coach, Jimmy Johnson, the legendary coach of the Dallas Cowboys. The team had a critical match to play in which they were the underdogs. And prior to the match, the coach gives a pep talk to the players. He took them aside. He had placed a 1 foot wide plank on the ground. He asked all of them to walk on it. They did so comfortably. And then he said, supposing I was to place this at 100 feet height between two buildings, would you walk over it easily? They said, no, we would be terribly scared. He said, why? It's the same plank. Then he explained, the reason would be your focus would get divided. A little bit onto the ground below, a little worry in the head, will I reach the other side or not? He said, focus makes the whole difference. Likewise, Jimmy Johnson explained that when you go out to play, there will be people jeering. There will be people cheering. You will have a little diversion with what's on the scoreboard. However, remember, a little inch here or half an inch there makes the whole difference. The team that is more focused is going to win today. And those players took that tip. And although they were the underdogs, they went on to win 54-17. That is the power of focus. What is focus? It is the ability to keep the beam of your attention on the subject of your choice for an extended period of time. There is one involuntary attention. Now, there was a clang and your mind went there, involuntary. That's not called focus. There is voluntary attention, where you choose to keep your mind somewhere. That ability for focus, we hear of people like Arjuna, it was so developed. When Guru Dronacharya lined up the Kauravas and Pandavas in his ashram as a test and said to them, there's a bird sitting in the tree, focus on its eye. All of them placed their arrows on their bows and started focusing. Dronacharya said, Bhimsen, what are you seeing? Gurudev, I am seeing the tree, the bird and its eye. Yudhishthir, what are you seeing? Gurudev, I am seeing the bird and its eye. Duryodhan, what are you seeing? Gurudev, I am seeing the bird, but from time to time I also see Bhimsen. He was full of bitterness, his mind would get distracted. Arjun, what do you see? Arjun said, the eye and the eye alone. Arjun won. Now that kind of focus, we all know if we could develop such mental ability, what could we not do? You see water vapor rising from the lake, nothing big happens. When the same is focused in the engine, the piston of the engine of a railway train, it develops the ability to pull thousands of tons of steel. The same sun rays, when focused through the magnifying glass, as little children, we have all done it. They can light paper. And when further focused in laser beams, they can cut diamond, which is almost the hardest material in the world. That is the power of focus. Reverse of focus is distraction. And ours is the most distracted generation in the history of humankind. We are so distracted. In the year 1990, I used to give lectures in India. I would go to small towns and the whole town would turn up because they found that the only entertainment available was this bearded Baba saying interesting stories. And the TV was terribly boring, Doordarshan channel. But on Sundays, my audience would reduce to half because there was a picture that used to come on Indian TV on Sundays. So half of my audience would go to see the picture. That was more interesting now. But then just a couple of years went by and the picture started coming every day. Then it did not matter so much whether it was a Sunday. And then later on, the channels kept on increasing and some dedicated channels started showing pictures all day long. Now people became more distracted and the audience size shrunk. I'm talking about Indian audiences in spiritual programs. And then in the year 2008, 2009, there was again a change in behaviors with YouTube. 2-3 hours was too boring for people. They needed shorter snippets, 7 minutes, 8 minutes clips. So now our video editors were pulling out little clips to keep everybody on YouTube entertained. But then you fast forward to the year 2015 and 16, even 7-8 minutes was too boring. People moved on to Instagram, 1 minute, until Meta made changes. So now every second you just keep flicking like this. That's the amount of distraction our mind has gotten habituated to. Researchers have discovered that the average knowledge worker who is working on the computer screen changes 566 computer screens in a working day. That means every 40 seconds they are changing focus. And that is nothing to say about the mobile on the side through which they are looking at Facebook and Instagram, etc. Now, I'll tell you a true story. I was in Houston. So, every day I was with one devotee. And my host for the day, he was escorting me to my room. And we passed by his son's room, who was a college student. So, we both peeped in. He was on his study table. The TV was blaring on the side and he had a book open in front and he would steal glances to the TV and look back at the book. I asked the father, what is he doing? He's watching TV with studying. I've never heard of such a thing. He said, Swamiji, what to say, these children in America, this is how they study. So I don't know whether they study like this or not, you people know, but this is the extent of distraction, the state of our mind. And ultimately, it impacts our productivity. We can say, we are multitaskers. But the fact is, each time you shift focus, a little bit of your attention remains in the past task. Dr. Sophie Leroy called this attention residue, which means there's a residual attention there. And then you are changing. So the brain is going there and then again there, and there's less of your attention capacity available for the task at hand. And if the previous tasks were incomplete, the residue will be more. So, if we wish to enhance our effectivity at work, and even if we wish to progress in spiritual sadhana, if we wish to reach God, or if we just wish to be happier people with more control over our emotions, in all these aspects, we'll benefit tremendously by cultivating the ability for focus. What should we understand in this regard? We have an attentional span You can only pay attention to so much of information at a time. And when the information that is impinging on you becomes more, then there's an attention overload. Like, for example, suppose you thought of getting a cup of tea for yourself and started walking to your kitchen to make a cup of tea. In the meantime, your mobile rang and you picked it up. Your friend said, "Suna yaar, kya hal chal hai? LTP mein ja rahe ho? Haan bhaiya, jayenge, tumko wahan milenge." So all this filled up in your attention. And the fact that you had to get tea got booted out. So when you reached the kitchen, you forgot why you had reached there. You became absent-minded. See, we've got a limited attentional span. That is why it is said, don't do texting while driving. Some activities don't require much attention. These are the activities that you have created habits out of. So, for example, when you wake up, you're brushing your teeth, etc., all out of habit. And with the mind, you're thinking, I need to do this, I have to meet my boss today, I have to do that. It doesn't require much attention. Other activities do, like, for example, texting and driving. So texting and driving don't mix, hence the warning. So, if we wish to be more effective, we must develop the ability to keep our focus in one place.